Right. Kenny's rocking out. Woodstock 99. We can't put you on camera, but the junk's out. Good afternoon. Oh, my engineer's echoing.
That's your
It's not mine.
tradition to start and say hi with a reverb.
I know.
Remember?
It's like trying to get profesh over here at all is just fun. Plans.
Effects.
Well, welcome everybody. So this is delayed by a week. There was some pretty serious stuff going on in our long-standing community, YouTube. So it's a heavy topic today and one that's going to leave everybody a little bit unsatisfied. Up on your screen, gentleman over there with the camo cap, that's David DeRosia, who we talked about in part 1. If you missed that, I'll link it at the end. There'll be a card for you to be able to pop on over and catch that live, which had a lot of good information. There was a lot of gaps in it. I know now why people do produced content, because I would love to just skip through some of my gaps where I'm looking for my pictures that I was so disorganized with. but it's better that people know now that that's what you can expect over here. So David DeRocha, as a recap, there were 3 deaths that were associated with Woodstock 99. Today we're talking about the lawsuits that you haven't heard of. And we're really kind of deep diving into the, for the purposes of YouTube, we'll call them non-consensual encounters. We all know what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about the R word. We're talking about the M word. We're talking about unwanted sexual contact that ran prevalent and was underreported. But to be even more fair about it, reports didn't get people anywhere. 2 of the deaths at Woodstock, one of them was ascribed to a pre-existing condition. Yes, it was hot. Yes, they were dehydrated. But the man was in his 50s. He had a heart condition. The family, sort of made it clear that he was having significant health problems anyway. This was something he wanted to do. The other one was interesting. Some people will not ascribe it to Woodstock. I tend to think that it belongs here because while it was 60 miles away, it was on the Sunday. A lot of people left early that morning, so before riots and all that. In fact, the festival was still going on. But a young lady who, was in a wheelchair, sadly. Sorry, everybody. Was returning to her car in stopped traffic. She had went to go use the restroom, coming back. She was run over not once, but twice. Returning to her car in the stop line of traffic as people are trying to go around and sort of otherwise maneuver. I consider that a Woodstock death. Some people don't because they weren't on the grounds. I do. The one that is absolutely non-contested, however, is the man on your screen. So David, we talked about a couple weeks ago, he went to Woodstock and he was heavily featured in both the HBO and the Netflix documentaries. So you might have heard of his story. But nobody's heard the legal part of his story, and that's what we really kind of honed in on. So he had gone, his big goal, he was happy like most were for the lineup, but I mean, his ride or die band was Metallica, and Metallica was part of that out of control Saturday lineup that some people ascribe as sort of the beginning of the chaos. So, the Saturday night lineup was, 6 o'clock. So right as the sun's starting to go down, they had Limp Bizkit. And then, oh God, why am I drawing a blank, honey? Help me. The System of a Down, that was that? No. No, it was
Outcast.
No, Outcast. Outcast wasn't at Woodstock 99.
Offspring.
My dear. No. Anyway, whatever. Another hardcore band, by the way, that was equally as out of control and everyone was amped up from Limp Bizkit, and then Metallica. Metallica was the midnight show. So it was he had a diary he kept. We read through that. Again, I encourage anybody who didn't see it, to have a look at that video. He wanted to get, his goal was to get on the Woodstock documentary in the pit during Metallica. So his friend went with him at first. Said he didn't last very long. He's like, this is really intense, and left. David stayed. David went into a seizure. Now, the price gouging and all that we discussed last, I keep wanting to say last week, but 2 weeks ago. The price gouging is notoriously out of control. That's well known. But these two planned ahead, okay? David had a job. He worked for a mobility company. His mom was also disabled. He moved home to care for his mother, who had Lyme disease that left her with intermittent blindness. muscular atrophy. I mean, he was her caregiver. And then he went to work. And then he paid on top of all that, he paid his mom $500 a month in rent. I mean, he was a caregiver, you guys. Clearly a big-hearted person, and every account of his life says that. Well, he was very responsible. They both planned ahead. They had the money, paying for the water, all that. That wasn't the issue for them. We looked up the temperatures last time. By the time Metallica went on, it was down to 80 degrees. However, the tarmac was known to be 5 to 10 degrees hotter, not accounting for the rise in body temperature because of physical exertion. So if you're in the pit, you're moshing, right? So we don't know. David was 5'9", 330 pounds. Okay. Let me remind people of the douchebags that ran this thing, because you'll hate them even more by the end of all this. There they are. So ignore this roadie guy on the end, whatever. The little douche canoe there pointing, he's like the worst of both of them, in my humble opinion. His name's John Scher. He's the one who said that he died because he's fat. And there's no, I don't need to be like, oh, that's a paraphrase. That's what he said. Michael Lang is the other one. Now, Michael Lang, he is known because he had a hand in all the Woodstocks. So including the original. So those were the two main architects of this, right? And so David first has to did I get rid of the background? I probably did. But I did show it last time. I gave kind of an aerial view when the stage is packed, what it looked like. He was front and center when this happened. So first he had to make it to one of the tents, and we looked at where the tents were. It was not a convenient situation. Takes him about 15 minutes before he gets there. Then he gets there, and they say he's drunk, or they assume he's either drunk, high, both. He also didn't drink, didn't do drugs, and his autopsy confirmed that. Nothing in his system. They did not properly take his temperature, but they did say that he was belligerent. He was this, he was this. He was post-ictal. That's what we know now. He did not get the care he needed there. He did not get hydrated, despite the fact that they had Gatorades on hand. They got a PICC line in him, and rather than give him fluids, they gave him Valium. When he had a second seizure there in the medical tent, then they transfer him to the local hospital finally. He gets to the local hospital. By the time he is there, his medical chart says he's bleeding from every orifice. Okay, that's a direct quote. They work on him. They also don't record anyway. They don't record a temperature. Eventually, he has another seizure, and then he's airlifted to the hospital, where he's put in a medically induced coma. They finally take his temperature. Even after all this time, his temperature was 104, and by this time it had been 2 hours. They finally administer some fluids, but all in all, his body was shutting down, one organ at a time. His mom she got the call. She was able to get out there to see him, and they had to make the decision to take him off life support. Mom got an attorney because it was very hard to get information.
Korn, that was the name.
No, it wasn't Korn. Korn opened the show. Well, they didn't open, but
the band you were trying to think of. No,
it wasn't. In between Limp Bizkit and Metallica, I can picture them in my head, and for some reason I can't think of it. And of course, I didn't write that in my notes because it's always been common knowledge to me. And of course, now I'm going to draw a blank.
Okay.
So she hires Joseph Cote, who's still there, still the lawyer. Spoiler alert for people that didn't watch it. Still the attorney. So they start to find out about just these gross errors. And what they find out is that these douchebags on screen essentially farmed out like they did everything, the medical care. And the person who was overseeing the tent, despite what they made claims of, was actually a second-year resident. And should not have been running that tent. The one that is closest to where hours early, now keeping in mind, I'm going to be fair, they were overwrought because just hours earlier, they started to have a slew of people coming in with broken shoulders, with all these other things, because it had been a wild night, you know? Rage Against the Machine.
James Locke, thank you.
Okay. Because I'm like, System of a Down. It's not System of a Down. Rage Against the Machine. Right. So it's, that was the lineup, you guys. Yeah. So it's like by the time he got there, I mean, it was, yeah. So she finds this out, right? Well, they initiate a wrongful death suit. There was a series of medical errors, but we know that sort of originates there. These are the guys that contracted out. These are the guys that did not oversee shit, okay? Including the shitters, okay? Like right down to the shitters. They just like farmed it out and then, oh well, yeah. sat in their safe space and let it ride. Here we are in 2023, you guys. So obviously this happened Woodstock 99. Sadly, David's mother passed away. Oops, where did my picture go? I'm going to put him back on screen while I talk because I don't even like looking at these guys because they kind of make me sick, actually. No offense to Michael or his family. I know he's deceased now. This John Scher guy is a piece of shit, though. He's still everywhere. Here, I'll put this up. This was his friends. This was the picture as they were. So Lorelei dies. That's David's mother. Here we are in 2023. They are still trying. This case is still open. John Cote is still the attorney. This now, you know, the estate of David is now his grandmother and his sister. But this resident, one of the main ones, right, fled to Switzerland. So there you go. This is the last open case of Woodstock 99, and it happens to also be the most cut and dry direct fatality from the event. So, yeah, sad story. So we covered that like in depth last time, and then it was not the only snafu, though. So just as a last little thing, so there's a lot of redactions. There's things like that, but we looked over his medical records. Like I said, I strongly encourage if you didn't see it, again, his autopsy was clear. It was because of the heat and the heat alone, and the medical mistakes that were made along the way. So. Come on over to chat here. I'm going to probably vanish off of screen for a second since I can't for the life of me figure this out. Anybody who's new here, by the way, it's like maybe a month in and I'm really rocking with the StreamYard. How do I get it just to go to camera? I have to leave first, right?
Down the bottom, start cam.
No. It doesn't have. Oh, yeah, it does. Oh, helps if I have my safety thing off, huh? Okay. Let me get over here. I'm going to pull up a screen for you. Let me just take a look in chat. Yeah, none of that was done. Not until the second stop on the way. It's sad. Like, so his mom lived 6 years after, but he was her primary caretaker, you know. It's very sad. There we go. There's one that can just hang out on there. So we did go over some of the you know, the more well-known stuff in David is what we went over last time, because we all know as well all the mud shots that wasn't mud. I mean, it was partly. So it was a literal shit show. Literal shit show. People that got swamp mouth and all that, there was nothing they could do because it all had been, again, subcontracted. And the name of the game for douche canoes was ridiculous, frustrating, horrible indemnity clauses, pushing shit to the vendors and then having a little clause in each and every one of them that universally seems to be missed. Okay. Now, a lot of these were small businesses. I mean, think of like food trucks today, right? That's a lot of these vendors. Now you have bigger ones like the local public hospital who's sending, it's the weekend. So it's fucked up. Nobody was overseeing any of this. They contracted out and then it was hands off. Well, they also put indemnity clauses in there to where when people go to sue, these two and their corporation are able, in almost every single case, to be excused from the lawsuits.
Now, what is an indemnity clause?
Indemnity clause means that they're not liable. That's what that means. So in each case, they transferred liability to their subcontractors.
So in other words, when the subcontractor signs on, it's in their contract that says you are responsible for X, Y, and
yes, including requiring them to carry the insurance.
The insurance
for if shit happens.
Any harm.
As you like, insurance is. I don't remember which comic said it, but it stuck with me my whole life. Yeah. It's insurance is just in case shit. You know what I mean? In case shit happens. So it's like a lot of these small vendors, particularly the small vendors, but keep in mind too, Rome, New York ended up paying for a lot of shit here. I mean, there were busted water pipes. There was contamination to the grounds. There was a lot that happened where there were contracts in place, but a lot of these were small companies. So not only did they take a loss because their shit burned to the ground or got looted,
right,
but then in turn, they find out they were expected to carry a rider for insurance. Mm-hmm. So then you end up with a bunch of insurance companies suing each other. Whoops. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to pull up our first case because this segues brilliantly into some of these cross lawsuits. So it was turning into, people were giving up. In terms of the vendors, people were starting to just give up because what was happening is it's like, oh, well, your insurance doesn't have that high of a coverage. Well, that's on you because here we had hidden. And it was over and over and over because, of course, every vendor that experienced loss went for this. Let me see. Do I have any of our, guys, good old Peace Patrol. And all of them kind of cited the same grounds, right? Which is that, listen, they had a contract with New York troopers, but it was a backup car. They took like the least cost program that they could in terms of contracting out security, right? So these guys, you can look and I picked this picture because the guy who's, you can see a little bit of his face. Look how young he is, right? Now he's a little buff, but then look at Scrawny Boy over here, right? So it's like there was no requirements here. You had to pass a test. And one of the documentaries, and I didn't write down the guy's name, but a lot of us have seen it. He was saying like it was almost like they were coaching you along as you were taking this proficiency test at the end of a 3-hour class. There's people that were reporting that they were selling their yellow T-shirts, and by the end, the stat that we went over last time was 60% by the time Sunday arrived. Okay. So before riots and everything, before the fires, 60% of Peace Patrol either had taken off their shit and was just mingling like free concert or was like, fuck this. And they left.
Well, they were selling, that one guy said he had multiple shirts.
Yeah. But only 40% of the original staffing even remained. And yet nobody called in this big magic. They were able to sell this illusion of proficiency and competence, and we thought of everything. We got everything in place. It's all set up. But when you look at it, it's all these chintzy, like grody contracts that was just about saving money.
Yeah.
They had the ability to call in New York State troopers anytime they felt it was out of hand. They did not do it until Sunday night. They threatened it. In fact, it was Saturday night. After Metallica, after all this, during Fatboy Slim in the rave tent, was the first time they threatened it. And that's because someone hijacked a fucking truck and was driving it through the hangar with all these fucking, ecstasied out, like, high people, Yeah. And that's the first time they even threatened it. But they didn't actually do it until very late Sunday night. It's horrible. So a lot of these businesses cited the lack of security and the lack of control over the crowd, the grounds. This whole fucking shit started because they did not want what happened at Woodstock 94 to happen, which is a doubling of the crowd from crashing gates. They consistently, you cannot get a good number. Tweedledee and Tweedledum will forever say 200,000 people.
Yeah, it's on their
and that's because
website.
Do you want to hear this though? Because no, fire departments had to go in there. There was all kinds of other things, and the number is closer to 450. It was worse than Woodstock 94. Worse. The reason they wanted to keep their number under 250,000 is because John over there, he's the main promoter, okay? Their agreement with Ticketmaster was that Ticketmaster got a higher cut if they sold more than 250. Additionally, they had to pay the same number held true for the city. They had to pay a higher percentage to fire, to water, to all of it, right? It was based on attendance.
So that would explain why they were putting up pictures like that.
Yes.
On the website as it went by.
Yes.
Oh, there's plenty of space. Look at that. There's grass there. It's just peaceful. Just hanging out.
And and that's bar and shit like that too. But at the end of the day, it's like, because they would have had to pay for resources that were vital.
Knowing what we know now about it.
Underblowing those numbers caused a lot.
Yeah. Knowing what we know now about it. A picture like that is actually odd.
Yes.
It's like, when the fuck was that shot?
Probably before James Brown took the stage.
Yeah.
That might be the one that I have.
Don't want to show like maybe shots like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm trying to find now. That's that. There's the aftermath. Okay.
That's the Mercedes, right? That's the Mercedes.
Well, what's interesting? There was one. So there were 49 total arrests, all in all, right? This was a banger. Let me grab this guy. His name's David Heidi, and he gets to be our little scapegoat for today because he's one of the few that we can get names on, right? So he set fire to a tractor trailer that belonged to one of the concession stands. So he was criminally charged, but they had no recourse with the event planners and promoters, right?
Yeah.
And the judge came down being like, you got to go after the guy that did. Well, there was more than one guy that did it. He's just the one that the cops could catch because he's too dumb to see him running at him or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, 49. I mean, it's like if you look at anything, you can see there was way more than 49. It was just, the police are a big focus of what we're talking about today, because this is a matter of who they caught. This was a matter of which women spoke to them and they chose to take any action, which was very few. I mean, we're a long ways out from 1999, but it's going to be an interesting conversation in terms of what we think about how much has or hasn't changed. Forcible penetration is the only thing that they would consider. Okay. There's different numbers when we start to talk about that too, about how many assaults there were. And it's only counting, when you look at that, it's different than it would be today, because they're only counting forcible penetration.
Yeah.
The R word. Okay. 5. 5 is the number that they give. That's the official number. Only one person was arrested, and only one person did any time or was held accountable in any way. It also happened to be a prison guard who was taking like a side gig to work the event. And the girl happened to be 15 years old. And the assault itself happened to happen during Korn opening night. It's sad. So let me grab, I have, are you able to share your screen for the, I'm going to introduce who Liz is. So there were a lot of reports about young ladies, women, because I can't just say women. There were minors involved in this as well. Lots of reports that nothing was done. People stood around. The security, peace patrol was a joke. I have a picture.
Well, there you go. Right there.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm gonna put it back up. Thanks here. So Liz Pole was 24 years old at the time. And she's actually a computer programmer from Virginia. And this hit her a certain way as these things were being, because things would come up in local papers and things like that. But it just universally, they were having there was no luck. Okay. Just like there wasn't any luck when they were on the grounds trying to get any help. She wanted to start a nonprofit using her skills to consolidate and make it easy for people to report, because the feedback is that they were getting turned down to even write a report in New York. So, remembering that it's 1999, the product of her advocacy and efforts was a website called fanseverywhere.org. It was run by volunteers who, so women could come in, they could give tips. They at the time would post pictures. If there was they would ask people if they had pictures, because there was a lot of footage of this, right? Let's get into one of the things that you don't think about when you think of violations of people in a sexual way. We do now, but certainly back then it wasn't even a thought on the radar. There were a lot of women who had their bodies photographed just by anybody in the crowd back then. No shock, the official Woodstock 99 website was not run by anything associated with the LLC, with the corporation. No, they farmed that shit out too. And people are so now the women have pictures of this. Some of them had pictures of their assaults. Some of them just had pictures where, they're there with their boyfriend or whatever. It's Woodstock, for shit's sake. There were like whole stations where, you could get body painting and all this other stuff. And here they are on the World Wide Web all of a sudden. No clue who put it up, but it is being hosted by the official Woodstock 99 website. And that turned into a whole thing because guess what? When they went to go get it taken down, oh, sorry. We aren't responsible for that. We have a contract. There, you have to go to them. You have to deal with them. You have to ask them. It's like it's like chasing your tail to get anything done anywhere. They had literally indemnified themselves from any accountability, any liability. They collected the bag of money and they were done.
We went and we had to. Okay, so what was fanseverywhere.org?
Yes.
The domain got lapsed, and then it got purchased by some other company. And then finally now I think it's not even up. Nobody has anything up on it anymore. And the last thing that there was on there was some German website that was.
Well, obviously it's been a long time since.
Or actually, I think it was.
So we got this. So we got this, you guys, from the Internet Archives.
But look at how many of the articles right around it were around pictures of the actual suspects. The police, the New York police, put those pictures up on their website asking people to find these guys. And the Associated Press photographers that took them tried to sue the police to get the pictures taken down because they weren't compensated or allowed to, the New York police had not gone through the proper permission procedures to get there.
But think about that, right? If you're the female, yes, of course you want the person to be caught. But you'd also like to know if the New York, if evidence that's coming in from God knows where, pictures you didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And then you throw them up on the internet. I mean, of course we see what the police are going for, but like, where's the women in this? I mean, they're just about as taken into consideration as they were at the time,
Well, these were pictures of the suspects, not the women.
Oh, it was Woodstock itself that had pictures
that
of the
were
women.
going. Yeah, so they had gotten them off of the Woodstock website of the suspects, and then all of a sudden, the independent photographers themselves all went and petitioned the governor of the state to get the state police to remove the fucking pictures. 14 news photos were posted on the state police website. 8 by photographers for the Associated Press. 4 were carried by Syracuse Online and 2 from newspapers. They'll say which in this article, in an attempt to identify possible suspects in the rioting and looting that followed the concert. And if you allow the state's police to use AP's photos to persist, the public's confidence in the independence and accuracy of the press will be eroded. The police just blew them off. They were like, kiss our ass. We're leaving them up. These articles are really interesting, and you can't find these anywhere else except here on this archive of her website, because she, being a software programmer, was smart enough to copy their articles and put them in this archive, not links to them.
This was like the amazing, it was creative and yet it's simple, right? It's just, it took someone like her to step up and do it and think of it. She consolidated this into one place because there's the official reports from New York State. They investigated 8, but there's only 1 that they substantiated. Now, in 66 thefts, by the way, those all except for 2, there were 2 that were personal in nature. The rest of them were businesses, and they were forced to fight. That's looting because they had to go this route. because there was no compensation. There was no way. They ended up in these pissing matches with insurance carriers, and every time, the organizers would be dismissed from the case because of their contract. 15 cases of criminal mischief. One of them was Dave Heidi, who I just showed, and five drug cases. 5, right? So that's their effort of work there. And so, it just tells you, like, something like this is what was, debunking this notion that, there might have been 8 maybe, but there's only one that was, officially on the record is one, a single one.
Now, do you know what those officers were being investigated over? They were literally going up to women and having them take off their shirts and show their butts while they stood there and took pictures. Yeah. These are police officers that are going up to women, police officers, and getting pictures of themselves with naked women at Woodstock 99.
Well, it's on your screen there, baby. Not one person lost their job. Not one.
No. What? Meanwhile,
there were suspensions and demotions, but not
sexual assault is taking place all over the place. But these 6 guys, now the other 2 were on a separate deal, and theirs were apparently just tossed out too. But these 6 cops were just walking around, hey, and then they're like, "Show us your bottom," was a quote.
Your bottom.
Yeah. And then they get a picture of that. Yeah, we're here at. So this lady created this site, and as you can see right there, it was a 50C. It applied for. Now, whether it got it, I don't know. But it was. It had filed as a not-for-profit with the state. So. And they.
In Virginia.
Yeah. But in the links and resources and in the news, I kill that little toolbar every time I do it. She was as thorough as any. She was more thorough than anybody that was actually running any investigations.
Yes. Well, right. Well, here are my court papers.
But these are like time capsule articles over here. Ooh, there's one that actually has a picture.
Oh, by the way, here, let me upload this because I want to show you guys. I picked my thumbnail intentionally, right? But there's a portion, and that was because I want you to see there. It looks like a very peaceful little scene, right? But, girls chilling on the lawn, things like that. Get this off here. Just stop.
Crazy.
Are we full on StreamYard again?
Mm-hmm.
Full on StreamYard again.
You tell them, Kenny.
Shh. Let me upload.
Not that much, Kenny. Yeah. Oh, did you see that quote? Michael Lang was quoted as saying, in response to the reports of assaults at Woodstock Festival, "I don't think it's conceivable. You can barely move in a mosh pit."
The other one blamed the women.
Oh, no, there is another statement. These girls ought to look at the way they dress when they go to these things.
That's John Scher, guys. he had some nasty, I mean, he had something to say about every single person that was harmed, hurt, violated, robbed. I mean, any of it.
Look what she was wearing. She was asking for it. Was an acceptable defense to assault. Wow.
There are a few $1 million lawsuits. One of them was from a Canadian woman out of Alberta.
That's from the National Organization for Women.
Whose 13-year-old was violated with a bottle by one of the security. There is a presumed settlement. So there's nothing that can be found on that. We talked a little bit about Portalette lady, where when the riots broke out, she was actually braving those portalettes. She was in it when it got tipped, busted her leg, right? The infection, I mean, she was almost an amputee from the infection because, of course, as soon as she's got open wounds, she's also in a cesspool. That was settled. No information. So the NDAs that went out on things that even got settlements was just out of control. But we do know that one of those was an assault case.
Okay, there's the Syracuse Post reports that in an unrelated incident, 8 police officers, I was wrong, 8 police officers encircled 2 women on the campground early Monday morning and asked them to bare their breasts. After the women complied, they were then asked to show some bottom. Both again complied and even agreed to take pictures with the troopers. Although the women said they were happy to oblige the officers, the incident is being investigated by the State Police Internal Affairs Division, and as of yesterday, the supervising officer had been suspended.
That's all that ever came of it, honey, was suspensions and demotions. Nobody got fired. Nobody got fired. But it's, you know.
Probably suspended.
But it's very,
pay,
I mean.
No less.
Yeah. And then, you know, so is it any wonder either why nobody could make a report? Why so few were taken?
Yeah.
I lost my picture. It won't upload.
And then there was one where state prison guard from Rome was arrested early Monday after he alleged assault and was indicted Tuesday on charges of first-degree essay and
Only one.
endangering the welfare of a child. The
13.
girl had left the concert grounds to use the bathroom at a gas station when she was allegedly forced to perform oral, and the girl fled and told a group of friends. And that was the state guard, Timothy Whedon. Was that the guy you'd put up there?
No.
Because that was
the other one was the only one who's ever spoke after his arrest for setting the fires. Well, good. I'm glad.
She had all, and this is, we got to really give her props because she just popped them into the archive on the website.
Now, I read, though, because sadly, you guys, this is like really our only source of good information on this. Of course, there are but because so many were either settled, you know, or, you know, were never reported. Of course, they're not going to give information on the women. I'm sure the women didn't want to come speak out. So really, Liz's information is the most comprehensive because it's the only place a lot of these women felt safe to even say anything. She made national news for doing this.
Yep.
It was awesome to be able to access this because it's no longer on.
Well, even MTV reported about.
Yes, I have the MTV report pulled up.
On
I just can't
her.
upload it. The first time they reported on her, they didn't give her name, but she did agree to. I mean, she consented to her name being used eventually. So their second article mentioned her. They did 2 pieces on her.
And then somebody.
But she got a lot of
Boston Globe.
Yeah, she got a lot of coverage. And again, these local papers, because she also, because that consolidation of all these reports from around the country are what made this powerful enough to where national outlets. Washington Post was huge on working with her after the fact. Came back and are like, wow, there's some bullshit information coming out. You know, they did not realize the severity, but it's like, I mean, of the 8 reported, 2 of them involved state officers of some capacity, because one of them was a corrections officer, but you know, the other one involved a whole gang R, if you will.
Yeah.
And these guys didn't even lose their jobs. I mean, I can't imagine what it felt like for these women.
So she initially, according to the Boston Globe, she initially came out under an alias too.
Yeah, she did.
And she put it up on her website.
Let's see if this one works.
You believe the Associated Press was even considering taking action on the police department for using pictures looking for these
Yes,
people?
because this whole thing was just a commercial shit show. You know what I mean? It's like they just wanted, I mean, that was about, hey, you're using our picture, you know. It had nothing to do with any humanity towards the women at all.
So I will drop that in the comment section. So if you want to read through those articles on the Internet Archive, and the links at the top on her website still work. So you can go to the news thing, you can go to the
is on the archive website's still fully operational. In the end, she reported having taken somewhere in the mid hundreds range of credible reports. She wasn't making that determination herself, but there was some criteria. So that's not how many people reported incidents to her nonprofit.
Right.
Those are the ones that came with some form of witnesses, things like that. There's the full scope of our thumbnail, you guys. So what you didn't see in that is these women enjoying the show, and right behind them are males that are setting up little photo ops like that. If you can't read it, it says wanted tits and acid. So not only was that just the prevailing attitude, but it translated over to the people that were supposed to be there to protect the women. And only after the fact to find out that these fucking predators that are sitting there that are supposed to be guarding, it's like they're the ones who are denying them the opportunity to even put it on a record.
Well, how about?
And they're supposed to investigate it? Oh, it's just too much.
This goes with what you just said, that the rape counselors and crisis intervention workers say they treated far more sexual assault victims than the 4 reported to police.
Because 4 was the original number.
Yeah.
The 8 came from settled cases after the fact. Settled cases after the fact. Again, it was never, ever, ever, ever these 2 dick shits that ever had, that their profits were like in their pocket.
So the Red Cross tent, the emergency service director of the Rome office of the American Red Cross, said she and her staff treated multiple victims of sexual assaults. And then another lady, the crisis service director of the YWCA in Mohawk Valley, said her organization's Rape Crisis Center had counseled for sexual assault victims. Well, the woman from the American Red Cross differs with her.
Yeah.
And they all focus over there on the.
What did you just scrolled past a John Scherer quote. So keep in mind too, like these were the guys that were like doing the press conferences every day.
Yeah.
And you can see they're the ones that people went to in the press to get quotes. Well, you guys have to understand, they are fucking callous as shit because they can afford to be. In the end, they were on the hook for none of it. None of it. I'm going to do a community post, you guys, when I find the articles, but, or not the articles. I actually got the court records. So I will post those, or I'll have Crafton post them to the website for anybody who wants to look at them. They are the more vanilla, you know, these are the vendors and things like that, because I wanted to talk more about that, but I can summarize it for you. It's like a long, windy road into they're not responsible, you were responsible, and each case had its own, everyone had the same story, which is there was this kind of funky worded clause that in the end transferred all liability, all responsibility. If anything happens, well, I hope you have insurance, because you're taking on all the responsibility if you choose to do business at our event.
Mm-hmm. I like what Time magazine had to say, that the Woodstock 99 ended up being a sock hop for the children of the corn.
A lot of people compared it. There's a lot of firsthand accounts. So I have a playlist as well, you guys. And in it, I was really, really heavy on attendees that have made videos, that are YouTube creators. I think it's good to support them a lot, especially and I screened them all, so I know that they were more honest and candid. But more than one of them likened it to Lord of the Flies. You know?
So these were, I mean, they were going at it really hard, but look at that. I mean, even though that looks like a lot of articles, that's still only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Most of them from the Associated Press, who then went after the police for posting pictures and trying to get somewhere with it.
For trying to solve a case.
You even had E! Online was like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on over there. Some independent website, Wall of Sound. But even out of these 17, most of them are over the fucking pictures. Like, oh my gosh, how dare you do that? How dare you perform your civic duty?
But what was also missing from the dialogue back then was the lawsuit over using pictures that belonged to the Associated Press was more of an issue back then than the fact that these women's bodies are being thrown all over the internet, sometimes by the people that actually violated them.
But I did like what Glenn Val, chief counsel for the New York State Police, has refused to take the photos down, saying, we're going to continue at this point as we don't feel there's any copyright infringement.
I mean, they're talking about, like, what about like just like moral respect? How about
he's
dignity?
Out
no, I get that.
To get justice.
I get that. But again,
why not go against the guys who are actually putting up the picture of the girls? They aren't over there putting the pictures of the girls up. They're showing people breaking into ATMs, which is a fucking crime. They're showing people.
That's why they had a bunch of, that's why they had the arrests that they had for theft, all those theft ones, with the exception of 2 that were personal theft. All the rest of them were shit like that.
Yeah. 4,200 hits on a website. I don't know if it's on hers. Wow.
It just blows my mind. You know what? I just can't imagine it these days. I don't know. And I don't have a daughter, you know what I mean? But it's like, for me, I'm going like, I mean, knowing that there were teenagers there, teenage girls.
Yeah.
Something like that happens to your kid and they go up to a police officer to say, you know, and it's the same, you know, for all you know, it's one of the 8 that are out there swarming. I mean, it's just, God, it's ill. Let me look at comments here.
Both Cher and his partner, Michael Lane, questioned whether it would be possible to sexually assault someone in such a crowded space. Even in the documentaries,
there were 2 different men just in the Netflix one.
Yeah.
That said they witnessed an assault. I can't remember her name, you guys, but she was the MTV correspondent who witnessed, like, I mean, so I have a picture somewhere and I'm not going to try to find it because it just ends up taking me 500 years and I get distracted. But I blurred it because you can see a woman that's being passed in the mosh pit, and they're literally ripping her shirt from her. She's trying to hold on to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Lang said that, other than that was just groping. That's not sexual assault, according to Lang.
Just groping. It was just groping.
No evidence of sexual assault beyond what he termed
yes,
groping. Oh, that's just groping. And they shouldn't dress that way and come to an event like this if they don't want to. This is
Michael Lang, who booked the titty painters.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what wasn't happening? I've seen plenty of schlong as I'm looking through pictures of Woodstock 99. You know what wasn't happening? Women running up to dudes to be like, hey, let me shake your hand. You know what I mean? It's just, no. Oh, God, it's so annoying. Yes, exactly, Sabrina.
8 were hospitalized and then on the official Woodstock website.
I'm so glad you came down for this one because I would have just been.
Everything was great at Woodstock until the hours of Monday morning when my daughter. Look, what happened was, so people were going on this website into the forums. Everything was great at Woodstock until the hours of Monday morning when my daughter got separated from her 3 girlfriends. The clean-cut, college-looking guy with dirty blonde hair pulled my daughter into a tent and assaulted her. There were people around and must have heard her screams and the struggles going on inside. She spent the best part of Monday in the hospital. Exams, counselor, HIV medication, state police, etc. Complaints have been filed. His DNA is now on file, but we need help. If anyone saw or heard anything, please email me. Anyone who provides info leading to the arrest and conviction is entitled to a $10,000 reward. So you're just going to make up a story so you can pop off 10 grand at somebody. I just feel like making some fucking shit up because it's inconceivable. But I got 10 grand laying around. We'll really pull this one out.
It makes me super sad. But see, that's the thing too. Look at how misleading that is, though. And it's like we're talking about the essays there, and then they throw 44 arrests. None of them were for that one.
Yeah.
There was one arrest, but the 44 is a separate number.
Now, you don't really associate this with the Dave Matthews Band, but by the time the fully clothed woman got to the stage, all that remained of her T-shirt was its collar.
I have the picture. I just can't find it. Yes. That's what I'm saying. But they didn't count that. You know what I mean? They didn't count it.
And so, thankfully, this woman stepped up and created this. And a lot of these links lead out, like if you go to, where is it at? I want to say, because I was over on it last night. But you can actually find, if you jump through these, there will be links inside them. They'll all stay on the archive. And not every single website is fully archived. Like there'll be pictures missing and shit. But you can actually make it to the Woodstock 99 Woodstock website in its archived state where people are on there begging for fucking help.
Yeah. It's sad. It'll break your heart, though. And that's where there's been a lot of dialogue about whether times are different.
Yeah.
And I think they are, but it's like when you're coming from that, it's not, that doesn't say a lot.
Yeah, I almost want to reach out to Sandy Lattimore.
Something I gotta call your guys' attention to here for just a second. I've been noticing that there's a lot of girls coming over to the top here, crowd surfing, and they're getting really groped. You know what I mean? Now I think just because a girl wants to go crowd surfing or whatever, that doesn't give the guys the right to molest them. You know what I'm saying?
Sheryl Crow regretted even being a part of the fucking thing.
Well, Sheryl Crow was heckled on stage.
She said it was the most disconcerting audience and worst performing experience she had ever had.
Mm-hmm. Well, there were only 3 female performers.
Right.
All of them got like "Show me your tit," like things like that. I think she was the first of the 3 to perform, but yeah, sad.
The threat of unprofitable music.
Dexter Holland, by the way, from The Offspring, the only performer that even acknowledged what was happening in front of his face, right underneath where he was playing. I have a picture of Insane Clown Posse, who was the first day, by the way. They're pulling women who have lost their clothes through the moshing process up on stage, and saying more. There was really a lack of I think a lot of people just kind of threw any morals out the door and dove into the grossest groupthink you can possibly imagine. And I just think it had to have been a scary place for women, especially if you were there with just a group of women.
So I'll add this from my perspective too. So right there, she says, Sheryl Crow says, at first I thought it was fun, but then I saw all these young women who had their tops off being disrespected by the guys, and everyone's bad behavior was exacerbated by the constant presence of the pay-per-view cameras. And I think girls were taking their tops off and the guys were groping them just so they could get on TV. They would see, okay, so I did a little research. What was going on was they had blimps with what today they'd be using drones.
But honey, they made money. This is another side of it. And they never got sued on this angle, but they had a separate pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That's how they sold more tickets. Exactly. They got more money.
So the pay-per-view cameras were attached to blimps that were going across the crowd. So they knew, because it would say on this little blimp, because it wasn't a drone yet. It was a little remote control blimp that had a big camera.
Well, they had guys in the audience too that were filming.
Right.
And so, this was the day and age
blimp,
day and age of Girls Gone Wild too, by the way.
Would come across, and as soon as it got close, that is when what Sheryl Crow was witnessing, that is when these people would start, oh, here comes the camera. Let's start grabbing them.
She's back. I'm sorry, you guys. I put the last corn out there. She's like,
and Flea made a statement later on.
Flea was butt-ass naked the whole time.
Completely naked the whole time. And then there's Holland of Offspring. He says, I stopped our show and reminded the crowd that the girls should not have to fear being assaulted just because they are girls. We hate to see anyone bullied, guys or girls. It is not what live music is about. But then you look around at the TV cameras, and all they are focusing on is girls with their tops off.
Yes.
So more girls take their tops off. Yeah. No problem, right? Except then there are girls who don't want to take their tops off, and they start getting ridiculed. Yeah, he had more to say.
Well, this is the full statement, you guys.
Your guys' attention to here for just a second. I've been noticing that there's a lot of girls coming over to the top here, crowd surfing, and they're getting really groped, you know what I mean? Now, I think just because a girl wants to go crowd surfing or whatever, that doesn't give the guys a right to molest them, you know what I'm saying?
All with my female
screen. You see a girl passing over her head, give her a break, all right? You know what I'm saying? And if you're a girl and you see a guy passing overhead, I want you to grab his fucking balls.
Yeah, and then there's Moby, who also had some shit to say. He played in the rave tent.
Yes, he did.
And they were a good-natured crowd, a person in a great, blah, 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 $5,000 worth of my t-shirts and everything. But the rest of what I witnessed at Woodstock had a frat party vibe that was totally oppressive.
Wow. Moby is not going to
All of these one
not gonna
aggressive
get the-
band after the other aggressive bands, but I don't think the outcome should have surprised anyone. So he's blaming the producers, which I have said.
And I agree, right? They had no fucking comprehension of what they were booking, right?
There's no peace, love, and
I talked about this last time. I disclosed fully that I worked for Fred Durst, and so, you know, you can call it bias, whatever, but I feel the same way irregardless, which is that if you, like, I have watched that full set, right? There was nothing different than any other show other than they were playing to a bigger crowd. Okay. But it's like, that's what you get. That's a limp show, right? Like, they're booking these back to back to back to back. And they didn't know. I mean, they're throwing poor Willie Nelson in the middle of, you know, Kid Rock and shit. You know what I mean? It's like they had no clue at all. And there was a young man, he was young at the time, who was part of the production team, the employees, who tried to say something to these older guys that are in charge of these decisions and kind of be like, you know, hey, this is kind of like a heavy, you know.
These articles are going right along with what you're saying. The promoters of Woodstock 99 should have anticipated problems when the festival's more aggressive lineup played before such a big crowd.
Yeah. Well, and again, they minimized the crowd.
What says right there, you don't have a rock festival based on peace and love and invite Kid Rock and Insane Clown Posse.
Insane Clown Posse was one of the first performers. They kicked the shit off, by the way. I did not talk about this last time, but I should have. Because there's all this thought.
That was Moby still.
There was this thought that it didn't start until Saturday. No. The one assault that got a conviction happened on Korn's time, okay? This isn't about the bands that are up there. What the hell are they going to do, right? However, Insane Clown Posse gets up there, and like I said, they're pulling girls up. They're encouraging it. They're saying more of it. Then they start launching balls with first $100 bills and then $500 out into the audience. And it already creates this frenzy. People are fighting over them and things like that.
Yeah.
That was, you know, midway through that first little half a day on Friday.
So in this article where they're quoting, this is another Associated Press article, they're quoting Cher here. I didn't take into account what a frenzy the audience could have been in by putting these three acts together.
Because he didn't have any idea what music he was booking.
But they admit there that the crowd was so edgy that Limp Bizkit's Fred Durst needed to calm things down. So at a certain point, even he was like, okay, fucking calm down.
No, but he did.
Yeah.
The most that he's going to do, right? What he said, okay? And I'm telling you as somebody who has worked with him, okay? And his personality and his nature and whatever, that was his version, right? Was to say, I'm hearing, you know, I'm supposed to calm you. He said, I've been asked to calm you down. I hear people are getting hurt. Now, we don't want anybody to get hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know if you need to calm down, but let's not hurt, you know.
Let's not.
He's like that. And then he launched right into a joke about Alanis Morissette.
Right, yeah.
You already did the Birkenstocks thing. I'm not here for that. What the fuck else is he going to do?
Yeah.
What's he going to put in there? There's no fucking ballads in Limp Bizkit's lineup. You know what I mean? And yet, I did notice, and I would love to confirm this, by the way, I suspect there was a set change because there was some conferring going on with Wes and the other people. And they did do the lighter of what they had available at the time, given that it was 1999. They did not have, you know, the catalog of music that to choose from that they did. But then you're going to have a hard time finding anything like that, you know? They're not a hair band. They don't have ballads or anything to calm everybody down.
Yeah. This is more Cher quotes that we haven't heard yet. He says, there unquestionably was an element of the audience, a very small element, that was impossible or nearly impossible to control by traditional musical security means. No one wants to be doing rock and roll shows in an armed camp.
They picked the location, dude. Yeah, because like security dudes, they didn't have shit. They didn't have like pepper spray. They had nothing, right? Other than that shirt to give them the illusion of some sort of power. But yeah.
Well, and he also pulled there's good people on both sides fucking shit. It's right now there's some bad people, no question about it, and some of them were at Woodstock. But there were some good kids there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's still deflecting. Yeah, I mean, it really is, right? Yeah, but you can expect that, you know, if you go to a little bar room show of 20 people in the audience, there's going to be some bad, you know, and that's why they have bouncers. Like, I'm sorry, but when security's better at the fucking Wonder Bar, you know, than it is at this large scale of an event, it's just like, ugh. But it's constantly passing the blame. And in the meantime, there's these women that have been violated, right? Which, I mean, yes, it's okay. So as a small business, yes, like to have like your business go up in flames pretty much, you know?
Well, as an engineer, I can tell you firsthand, and had I been there, it'd have been like, you know, up in one of those towers mixing and or going and adjusting a microphone, blah, blah, blah. When you're on the sound crew, you don't give two remote absolute fucks about the audience in any conceivable way. They're just this gray blob over here. And your number one fucking statement would be, and it's shitty as hell, not my problem. My problem is to maintain this $100,000 mixing board. You know, once they start crawling up the towers, I'm going to kick them in the head and get them off there. So the sound engineers are no fucking help at all.
Well, but you would never see that in front of you and not step in. I know you better than that.
Probably the sound engineers and the monitor engineers on that stage are probably the ones that went over to Fred Durst and said, "Hey, dude, you got to stop."
No, the engineers had a sign.
They're over there tearing the plywood off the fucking stage.
They're in the middle of this crowd. I wish I still had the picture, baby. They're in the middle of this crowd. They can't, I mean, other than through their earpieces and stuff. But at the end of the, hi, honey, sorry.
But they say it's not my problem until it does become their problem. And in that case there, it finally did.
And they did. They're like, you know, can you get us out of here kind of thing.
But I'm also want to lead into this. As a sound engineer, you know that the promoter and the people who brought them in, they care even less. Because guess what they're also saying? They're saying the crowd's not my problem. And you guys over there engineering are not our problem either. We don't care. You need to take care of it, or we won't book you on another gig, you know, 2 weeks from now. So this Lang and this Cher, I mean, they are so out of touch with what's actually supposed to fucking go on already. And then at that moment, the only thing they're concerned with are the artists in the back area where those people are not at. And I would be curious to know how many security people, armed or not, legitimate security people, were back there with the buses surrounding the artists. Because that's where all the money went for their fucking security, was to make sure that people like Rage Against the Machine and Korn could eat their fucking from the craft services table uninterrupted by some deranged fan. So if you actually look at their budget, their security budget guaranteed was twice the amount that it was for the fucking audience.
Well, the promoters, by the way, were the main, they were where that next morning's press conference is where the, not like Fred Durst is an asshole, right? He made asshole comments afterwards, no getting around that. But that's where the, like, it's his fault thing started. They're like, oh, and then they start, you know, he starts singing about breaking stuff. That was like their fucking number one song at the time. This was like a year past, like when Nookie was big, like Break Stuff was their latest hit. You know, it's like, I can't. They cut his mic. I mean, they cut his mic right after Break Stuff. But it's just like, no. The assaults happened the very first night. That's when they began.
Oh, it's over in the links. Yeah. Look at, let's see, discussion board on the, and it takes it a minute to get there. No. You have to go there manually. That's right. It doesn't have it. Go to the, look, y'all want to see some fucking.
There's a dirt shot, by the way, not from that.
Windows 95 looking shit. Here you go. Yeah, so there's their super high tech
It's like being back in
message
the olden
boards.
days.
There's the message boards, gatherings, seeking people from volunteers.
Medical volunteers.
Okay. The ones with the most are on the gatherings, general music notes. I don't see the help thing she's talking about, but let's see. Go back to this one. So, what was that guy's name that you were talking about that came forward with the? Let's see, video archives.
Came forward with what?
That's right.
The one that gave the interview after being
yeah.
arrested for like lighting shit on fire and robbing shit? Brian Heidi.
Cyber cues.
Yeah, don't pull up the.
That one's
Don't
gone.
pull up like the photos when we haven't looked through them and redacted.
Well, they're photos. I've looked through
Well, there's
them all.
the
There's
Woodstock
not.
message board.
Yeah, that one didn't show up.
It's just bringing up your
Where?
child. It's just bringing up your childhood, honey. Your
Childhood.
Your
I was
your
in my
20s.
90s, or sorry,
Your 90s.
40s or something.
Yeah.
30s.
This is very
20s. I don't know.
AOL dial-up days.
Yeah, we looked at the message boards, but
Yeah.
and I don't know that this site is even up whatsoever.
Mother
period.
Jones would probably be a good one to look at.
Yeah, we looked at that. So Mother
The Mother Jones board.
Jones, if it's there, because some of these took off running. Mother Jones. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Let's see. Some weird. Nothing really. Yeah, just some old 99.
In the end, you
looking.
guys, there were undisclosed settlements in at least 2 of the cases. Only 1 person did need jail time. There were not any reports or follow-ups, even in the wake of this. This served as kind of almost information only, because turning it over for investigation didn't ever really get anywhere. They never corrected the numbers. All in all, you will not find a single lawsuit or legal repercussion that ever stuck or cost a penny to either of these guys or their company they formed in the creation of Woodstock 99. Not one. More people did time for stealing pallets of water during the riots or robbing ATMs than the single one that was confirmed to assault a woman, that was convicted, actually prosecuted, and was found guilty. But it's important to note that only one was ever prosecuted. The one direct loss of life never saw inside of a criminal courtroom. And their civil case is still open as of today, February 18th, 2023.
Let's see if this goes anywhere. Ooh. Let's switch to this one. This is interesting. See, we're finding all these old troopers punished for nude incidents. 11 were suspended and a supervisor demoted. Demoted for posing nude with nude.
Having
with nude
the nude women wash their patrol cars. Second paragraph.
So yeah, I mean, we got factoids that keep getting omitted and forgotten about.
That's what I mean. You can't get a straight answer. Even on these. I mean, that's where this collection of stuff is priceless, because it sheds this light that you just don't get. You can't Google Woodstock 99 and get the correct anything. You just can't.
To crawl into this damn rabbit hole here and find out what was being said at the time. And yeah, a significant suspension without pay. Oh, okay. In the car wash incident, the supervisor and troops were also given multi-day suspensions without pay. Okay, so what they did is the statement said troopers paid to have 2 patrol cars washed at a topless car wash organized by concert goers.
And then the topless women appeared in the New York Post.
How dare they not pay the copyright fee? You know, I took the picture. I should get paid if you're going to use it. You know, I've had experiences with AP photographers that have pulled that shit.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, I'm not saying it's always going to be that way, but in this particular case, the one that we had negative experience with had given full permission, and it got thrown out because they had repeatedly given full permission. And then tried to come back and get like ass in and go, oh yeah, they didn't credit me properly. It's like, sorry, an album cover doesn't say photo shot by.
Well, and for every slap on the hand, there is uncountable many that never received any accountability. They're not even known. They're faceless still to this day. They've grown up and gotten jobs and are out there everywhere, you know?
Let's see what Michael Lang's question and answer.
These things in the documentaries are intolerable to watch.
Yeah.
Intolerable. I really think this should get like something up on the website. We can put up the thing. I'll put the 2 court cases that I was able to get the documentation from.
Since we found the mother load of
and then this link, I mean,
suppressed information,
because truly, and I hope even for other creators that ever come across this or anything, you cannot get the information just from Googling. You know, you cannot research enough, and there are so many cases when you're dealing with things like sexual assault, when you get insurance companies involved, which is why it's hard to even find the business to business lawsuits from Woodstock 99. This is where there's any semblance of correct, honest statistics and information. Because otherwise, every media outlet is contacting, you know, the police and
so he's throwing this
the
over
organizers, the people that have a vested interest in the answers they give.
He's throwing this over on somebody called Ogden Entertainment. So will you continue to align yourself with Ogden Entertainment? It's too early to make that call. We would probably want to have more control at the next event. So we didn't have enough control because Ogden Entertainment is the one.
They tried to do this again for the 50th, right before Michael Lang passed away. The investor, thank God, backed out at the last minute. And by the way, Michael Lang and John Scherer won the fucking lawsuit against that guy. I mean, it'll blow your mind. I renamed the Saturday. It was just Saturday late. I'm like, now it's seeing red legal discussions because it is. I'm noticing the ones that catch my fancy are the ones where you just cannot fucking believe it. It's like a highlight on the broken system out there because it's just, I mean, it's like, if you can even believe it, it's like these guys never had to stand and be accountable in any legal sense for anything that happened at Woodstock 99. Yet they were the main profiteers of it. Because all these subcontractors, by and large, lost money. Even after all that, I mean, it's like they lost money. Rome, New York lost money. Everyone walked away a loser except for these two guys. The employees that were paid on the hourly that were part of things, you know, they have the memories of it. I mean, they're not happy. You know, it's like it was a frustrating and scary time. And then when they try to do it again, like they actually got money off of the fact that this investor pulled out after encountering some of these same sort of things. They learned nothing from this, and that shouldn't surprise us, actually.
Yeah, this little page here is filled with juicy.
Have a good one. Be good.
There we go. We got the producer's chat. We got their mod chat for the You didn't think we'd have that. Truth bomb.
We intercepted their mod chat. God.
Get your fucking mod chat, bitch. What do you think started the problem? So this is over the shit. This is after. It's a fucking chat after. I think it was a very long and very hot weekend. I think it was.
Well, what did John say? No, John is the one who puts his foot in his mouth more often. Crap.
Right here is a whole bunch of John share. That being said, I think that there's no question. And unfortunately, there were some people that simply didn't want the party to end, so to speak. They were there for the wrong reasons. They weren't there for the music or for the community. They were there to party. And they felt that by causing trouble, this was going to keep the party going. It was clearly ill-founded.
That shit bothers me. Because Michael Lang said the same thing, where it's like, oh, they burned it down because they weren't ready to go home yet.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, but John has accused the women of being the problem for getting assaulted, denied that it even happened. David didn't die because they had subpar fucking planning to get people with medical emergencies from the pit that they probably didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
Because they had no idea what they were booking, to a medical tent where a resident could be overseeing it, because how the fuck would they know? They subcontracted it out.
I like that.
And says the guy dies because he's quote unquote fat. I mean, it's just so gross.
So that what happened that weekend will not be forever scarred by the dastardly deeds of a few. You want to bet there, Johnny? Yeah, he was real wordy in this chat.
What did I see that right? He was blaming MTV, Rolling Stone, and Spin for how they covered it. Listen, MTV had people in there that they pulled out before it ended too. You know, it was getting to be unsafe.
No, he's saying that he's trying to get people to go to MTV, Rolling Stone, and Spin and tell them how wonderful. He needs witness videos like Natasha wants.
Yes. Yeah. No, so he's trying to be like, hey, if we were good, go put your Yelp review out.
Right. Can you go and help balance it out so that these dastardly deeds,
so that the majority can be heard? Listen, bro, the majority that were in there didn't even pay for a fucking ticket.
Yeah, this is great. I'm glad I found this part. I think a lot of the press has treated us unfairly because I think reporting has not been balanced. There's no denying that there were some problems, but
oh my God.
Why has he got an exclamation? He typed in this, by the way. So he typed in an exclamation point after the word but. But there's also no denying what a tremendous number of people who came to that weekend had a great time. I think that those who came with the proper perspective of this was going to be a weekend out in the elements. A camping experience on a fucking bunch of concrete. Yeah. That's wet and hot, by the way.
Hold on, before you start reading.
I camp on that all the time.
Let me, I did keep the map. Let me throw the map back up, you guys. Because so the only thing that was grass was their camping area.
And then directly in front of one of those stages.
And by noon on Saturday, any of the camping areas that were around that were lined by the portalettes, shit, I didn't get it up high enough. Anyway, the portalettes were running over. People were getting what they called sludge in their tents. Okay, so even this area that was for camping, which was the only grass, and notice how there's no trees. You know, it was infested with feces by the 24 hours into a 3-day event.
Now this guy is this guy here, this John Scher. The more I hear and read of his comments, he was trying to be a certain administration's press secretary. I think the press has unfairly ignored the majority of that majority group and the great music and blah 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 blah. About 90 minutes after it was over, then you have the press journalists who weren't at the festival, who had no firsthand knowledge whatsoever of the festival, but took news clips, secondhand information, trying to weave a story that is largely inaccurate. I think that's the unfairness of a large part of the coverage to date. Fake news. That's you are fake news.
Pregnant squirrel was here this morning. She's bad.
That is crazy. Yeah, I wonder if they finally kick him. No, he comes back around.
No, honey, he was part of this 50-year one that they were getting ready to do.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about kicking him out of the chat room because they fucking. Yeah.
Did they kick him out of this mod chat yet? Apparently not.
It's all this guy wants, a very small. He keeps trying to reduce the size of it. Very small minority of people who attended Woodstock who were there for the wrong reasons.
But they weren't. See, this is what he didn't get. They had no comprehension of the demographic, that went with the music. I mean, just the fact that they're like, well, we kind of hoped we could get the Who in there. There was no appreciation at all for Willie Nelson showing up, or that James Brown opened, right? I mean, there was just none. I mean, it was lost,
So they're asking him how many people actually attended, and Cher is saying something over 200,000 people.
Because he had to keep it under 20.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. However, it should be understood by everyone that the producers of the Woodstock Festival are not the operators of Woodstock.com. While there is clearly cooperation between we as the producers of the festival, we are not in control of Woodstock.com.
Mm-hmm. That was the answer to
And then he goes, what bands do you guys think put on the best show? What a loaded question!
Because he didn't fucking know. They sat in their little air-conditioned office.
This dude was like coming into the chat already pissed.
Yeah.
Well, should have took his shift key away from him so he couldn't keep hitting these exclamation points. When the CD and video come out in October, did they ever put one out? I guess they did. We saw all those.
The CD came out. I don't know about the video.
Yeah.
But it's also on pay-per-view. So you could buy a quote-unquote virtual, what would be virtual ticket back then. Kenny? I think so. Oh, well, here, John had some favorites from the 94. Metallica, 9 Inch Nails, Aerosmith. A lot changes in 5 years.
Oh, he's trying to say the Jimi Hendrix and the Who and 10 years after were aggressive acts back then. Yeah, John.
10 To this day,
I wouldn't let this guy be even remotely involved in a booking process
honey,
of
he's
any
from
description.
New Jersey too.
Oh,
We don't claim him. Yeah, he's a Jersey dude.
I love how this is all the chat wants to talk about, is how fucked up it all is. And he's like, y'all are really pissing me off. All you're asking about is...
Well, it's interesting because here he's blaming the Chili Peppers.
Yeah, now he's like...
And in all these more recent documentaries, he squarely blames Limp Bizkit.
Yeah. Indeed, when there was the biggest problems, it occurred approximately an hour and a half after the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Well, I got news for you. You keep failing to mention that Megadeth closed the fucking festival.
Well, people don't know that because they were on the smaller stage.
Right.
Closed, by the way, the very last song that played across
Peace
the ground.
sells, but who's buying?
As the place is burning down.
Burning down. Yeah. Why do you keep refraining from typing in the word Megadeth at a peace and love festival there, Johnny? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and they had been selling around this rumor that there was going to be some other act. People thought it was going to be Prince, Michael Jackson, someone was going to show up. So when it was over, it wasn't like, oh, we're so disappointed to go home. It's like, no, we stuck out this fucking stank ass, like hot, dehydrated, overpriced, shitty day. Because that's the other thing we did last time is we converted the cost of several menu items to today's standard, like for a gas station burrito.
Right. $7.50 for
you'd be paying $14.42, I think was the cost of that. A burger was like $19. A slice of pizza was the equivalent today of $22. But the most expensive thing at $24 today's money was a bag of ice.
Yeah. Here is someone asking an appropriate question. Do you think that the most of the MCs and some of the bands continuously encourage women to flash their bare breasts? Do you think this was appropriate? Don't you think it may have contributed to a hostile atmosphere towards women? Well, Cher's like, yes, I think that some of the words that came from the stage were unquestionably inappropriate. There was one MC in particular that we fired because of his behavior on Friday after the show. And we tried as best as we could to tone down that attitude. Yeah, is Woodstock 99 next month coming up? Is he really worried about his fucking job there, Johnny?
Well, I did get fired.
We fired him. We're like, get out of here, guy. Here's a yellow shirt.
Yeah, can you work security for us?
Can you go make sure Megadeth has hot dogs in their green room? Yeah. Mother load of John's deflection over here. I think the new genre is being led by artists such as Korn and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Red Hot Chili Peppers, who probably invented it.
I want to see the answer to this next one. So Snow Lion, the guest says, as a member of the crisis team, is there any chance of keeping us crisis medical teams together to use us at another festival? Because they did so fucking rockin' at this one, right? What he said.
Well, Michael, I've seen this question before. We thought we're at consideration and blah, blah, blah. That's it.
The crisis teams performed amazingly well at Woodstock.
Didn't they? John thinks 60% men, 40% women.
Oh, well, here's someone calling him out on the corporate aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, they didn't get the bands to play for free. They've shown the receipts from the original Woodstock, and
the original one.
Alone,
but I want to see him answer this because here's a question I could never find, which is how much they actually made. There's speculation, and there's been some good constructs done, but he doesn't. He talks about the first one. John's gonna pipe in on this one.
I think as you examine, I think you should examine cost of concert in this day and age. If you examine the cost, there'll be a charge to go concert, include 1 or 2 artists. Those ticket prices are as much, if not more, than what we charge for a 3-day weekend.
Look at that. What about the sexual assault cases logged? Do you
Lodged, yeah. They're back around. They're like, yeah, whatever. Let's go back to this. Moved on really quickly and then someone pulled up another different question to get it off of that.
This is clearly people from. There's a lot of very good suggestions in your letter, and we're grateful for the input. On
in the future, better.
Yeah. On Liz's site, there's a copy of that letter.
Oh, so it's the fans of those more low-key bands that disappeared during certain times of the festival, hence leading to some of the very aggressive crowd behavior that we all witnessed.
So why didn't you research the demographic? I mean, frankly, that's stupid. That's a stupid comment anyway. I don't know if there was like a prominent demographic, but you have Kid Rock and Korn and Limp Bizkit.
John agrees that this is all the media's
Insane
fault.
clown,
it's all the fake news.
Insane clown posse. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Goodness and Happiness don't sell newspapers.
How many tickets were actually sold? Approximately 186,000.
So yeah, there he is again. He's like, send in your testimonials if you would.
They all have fax machines.
You can fax it, and they got mail and all that stuff. Make your feelings known. It's your fault that we're getting a bad rap because you guys that had fun won't speak up.
Ooh. There was no damage to the park or any of the businesses in that area.
Confined to a few tents and about a dozen trailers. What about all of the fucking trailers? All of the tents?
Unbelievable. Oh my God. I can't.
Nice. Chat log. Chat bomb.
Gotta be kidding me. I mean, the sound equipment was busted to shit. I mean, there was nothing left. I mean, this is the fucking desolate ground. You know what I mean? And this is after some cleanup. No, that is so. And they had a right, and he got to get away with that kind of lie because in reality, he's in court, as you will see if you want to click over. I'm sure it'll be up by tomorrow. Like, no, they had businesses that literally claimed that this put them out of business, who agreed to do food and things like that. Oh,
Woodstock
cafes. I mean, bring your mace, but
Right. Wear your hazmat suit too.
Yeah.
In your own.
Bring your own
colostomy bag.
Yeah.
Where are Woodstock MP3s available? That's funny. They are not at this time. Well, why aren't you faxing that in if you had a good time with the crisis girls there that helped you find your car?
Look at this. No, hold on. Don't scroll us. So this is Michael. I also want to add that all the volunteers and the family of Woodstock did an amazing job, as did all the medical volunteers. It really helped make the experience meaningful
to everyone.
For everyone. Last picture, by the way, ever taken of David right there. That was Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
It was right before Limp Bizkit. Yeah. It was a meaningful experience just on what he's talking about.
So John is the president of the Metro at this day, at the time of this mod chat. I'm the president of the Metropolitan Entertainment Group. Then why was Ogden or somebody farmed out? Why not use your own, especially if you're the one choosing the artists? Because you don't want to be on the fucking hand for the charges. How come the media completely ignored the aid you gave to Turkey? I don't know what it's over there.
They donated.
Okay, I don't think all the media did, but I know that MTV has chosen to ignore it. Fuck those guys.
Corn Crazy has some things to say.
Yeah.
There were some.
Yeah. We invited the Who to reform. Voting.
What's up with Kurt Loder?
Did appear. So what's up with Kurt Loder?
Well, I feel like this.
Ha ha ha. Yeah, LOL hadn't been invented yet.
There wasn't. Yeah, there wasn't.
Yeah, it was ha ha ha. Ha space, ha space,
this
ha.
is like a slap ass in the face. Like, this is just.
You'd have to ask Kurt Loder. We have tried repeatedly to engage Mr. Loder in a responsible and meaningful dialogue regarding all aspects of Woodstock. He, however, for reasons that he has not shared with us, has a very dark and negative view of the entire event, the attendees, and unfortunately the overall event and its surroundings. We would welcome a fair discussion with Mr. Loder, but I think that can only come about if those of you who had a good time made your feelings known to him.
Say that
fill
really?
out this form and fax Kurt Loder.
Oh, it doesn't say that.
How you had a great time.
Don't listen to Crafty. It doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't. But that's what he says. If those of you that had a good time made your feelings known to him.
Oh, and then Woodstock talks to them. That's nice. We finally have a statement direct from somebody who owns Woodstock. Yeah. I guess at least embraces the name.
He gives the last chat. I think it's important that all of us who experience this very unique weekend together evaluate our events and dialogue with each other.
Well, first, Woodstock says, unfortunately, we've come to the end of our intercepted chat. Thank you, Michael, Aussie, and John. It's been a pleasure having you here. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with us? What does the great John have to say?
Well, this is where his mask slipped. I think it's important that all of us who experience this very unique weekend together evaluate it in our minds, dialogue with each other to put the weekend's events in the proper historical perspective. All three of us would welcome any direct correspondence from any of you to continue this dialogue. They are just begging people to send in testimonials of what a wonderful time they had to try to shout down what cannot be shouted down. Sorry, Johnny.
It's really gross.
Cannot be. Yeah, we're going to post this entire thing up on the website too. Yeah.
So this was an interesting topic, one I looked forward to, and incredibly hard to get any information on, and sad, unsatisfying, enraging to find the things that we did and understand that there just was no justice at all for any of this. And, like I said, Mike Lang passed away having been planning another round of this, and when the financial backers pulled out, getting awarded millions for it. So
there is one final page I would read because it's nice and short, because it'll give an end to this. What are you doing? So this is on that
Kenny. No, please.
AOL thingy.
Come say hi.
site for Woodstock 99. The Woodstock 99 Mega Festival ended Sunday night, July 26th, in a blaze of fury. Bonfires were started near the east stage as the Red Hot Chili Peppers played on. People in the crowd began tearing down and destroying equipment towers and fences. Looting and vandalizing of vendors' booths began, and a television van sustained damage as the nights progressed. Burning and looting of 12 tractor trailers occurred. Wait a minute, Michael. You just said a couple. And tossed into flames. Other blazes began to break out. Why did it happen? Ace Hardware was looted. Camping store was looted.
Ace Hardware is one of the lawsuits that I'm going to put up for you guys.
Some blame a breakdown in on-site security on Sunday night. Others blame the music for inciting violence. Corporate capitalistic greed is blamed for high prices of water and food and unsanitary conditions in the campgrounds. An increasingly violent society, hot temperatures mixed with bland surprise ending. The list of blame is endless. Some are splitting hairs over the exact definitions of words violence and riot. Many feel the festival went very smoothly and only 100 or so individuals bent on causing trouble shouldn't mire the memories of what had been a positive experience. But I like this right here. I have had this website online since February. Your microphone's on your side.
I'm getting attacked by the cat.
Yeah, okay. I have had this website online since February. The majority of the negative emails I have received speak of commercialism, greed, and an un-Woodstock-like spirit. Among the promoters, have your festival, but don't call it Woodstock. And I promise you there will be anarchy at Woodstock. I can say that the majority of mail I have received has been positive towards the festival. Many folks just had a great time and had left the festival before the flames. So all the people that were sending in positive shit weren't even there Sunday night.
Right.
What are your opinions? If you desire, post them on the Woodstock message board. But I love this right here. My first email received on Monday morning read one sentence. If I could burn your webpage like I burned Woodstock 99, it would make me very happy. Yeah.
Yep.
Such a positive experience.
Let me say hi.
Now Kenny's got a few things to say.
I
rocked out it.
Thank you for the treats, Memphis Mama.
The band Kibble was really good. They said, eat stuff.
Said Kibble and he looked at you.
Kibble. Yeah. Treat. Ooh, his ears went up.
He's got his.
You heard the word treat.
Squirrel Patrol shirt.
New metal, I think, is what they were calling that, Memphis Mama.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there you go.
So yeah, materials. We'll have a Woodstock 99 tab on our website.
Because I have these on my shirt, and so the cat is jumping up at me.
Oh yeah, anything that dangles is fair game.
Yeah, new metal. All right, guys. Well, I wish we had a better ending to give, but there's certainly a lot more where that came from. It just would be too long of a show.
Well, we've just also uncorked a nice little treasure trove of on-site witnesses that get eliminated from any historical documentary about Woodstock 99.
This cat is getting me, I swear.
Because now we know that number's not 6, it's not 8. There were 11 officers that were fucking fired,
and that's if you don't count the corrections officer.
Oh, and apparently an MC got kicked back to feeding Megadeth. And remember,
restocking the craft
according
table.
to John and Michael, there was no such band named Megadeth whatsoever anywhere near this motherfucker. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Good times, good times.
They didn't play the MTV News theme song as the last fucking song of the...
MTV left
I know.
Before the end.
That was the MTV News theme song. Peace sells, but who's buying? Yep.
By the time 99 hit, it was actually Stone Temple Pilots' Loungefly.
Cool.
On that trivia note.
By that point, I had issues with Kurt Loder too, because I kept sending him emails about my positive experiences everywhere. He wouldn't even fucking hit me back.
You were faxing him and he just was like unresponsive.
Nothing.
Fucking
Ghosted
Kurt
me.
Loder.
I said, here's my band song. Play this at news time. And he was like, nothing. He left me on red. Well, right.
MTV News theme song. Stone Temple Pilots.
In the end, yeah. Maybe how long is it
By
still there now?
99. What? Not now, obviously.
Do they even still have news on that damn thing?
Do they even play music on MTV anymore? I don't know.
I think it's just one long reality show rerun.
Yeah. But I'm positive about that.
All gray and shit. Yeah, Sabrina. Old dudes. Yeah, they got the fuck out of there. They were like, man, this is bullshit right here. Yeah. I don't know what Kurt Loder's problem is.
Yeah, I can't believe someone brought up.
If everybody would fax him, literally.
Yeah.
Everybody just fax him your positive vibes.
So this was. That was MTV's.
Right.
That was MTV's.
Nice. You know them.
All right, everybody. Well, that is that for Woodstock. Next week, we are starting on the Rust case and the charges associated from the death of Helena and the charges against Alec Baldwin and Hannah Gutierrez Reed, and having some discussions back and forth on that. And the Screen Actors Guild has weighed in with their thoughts. We haven't gone to any trials or anything like, we're not there yet. But this is causing quite a kerfluffle in vested parties like the Screen Actors Guild, because it really is quite a step how they chose to charge Alec Baldwin. Now, Alec Baldwin's also a producer. Mm-hmm. But that's not very highlighted thus far. There are 2 civil cases going back and forth between Alec Baldwin and the family. So we're going to look at all that.
All right.
You're welcome, Rose. I enjoy it. Hopefully other people do too. Kurt Loder did an interview for one of the documents. So the HBO documentary is in the playlist, by the way, because for whatever reason that made it onto YouTube and it's still there. Nobody's copyrighted, whatever. So it's there. But man, he's old. Like, no, it's like sometimes you see people's kids and you're like, oh my gosh, I hasn't realized it's been that. I saw Kurt Loder and I'm like, holy shit. Not a boomer yet, or I'll never be. According to Aiden, I am, but it made me feel old. So, all right, guys. Well, have a good rest of your weekend. We'll see you Monday morning for the morning show. If we are not here then, we're live each weekday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will be back next Saturday with the next case, part 1. Any closing thoughts? Thank you for joining me, by the way. My co-host today was my husband, Crafton.
Hi. Good to be here. Thanks for having me. I traveled miles and miles on foot to get here for this, and I'm glad I did.
I think I'm going to close out with the same instrumental that I opened with.
All right.
Have a good rest of your weekend.
Squirrels ready to rock.
Oh, you're going to put the squirrel up. All right. That's fine.
I'll wait till the music does.
Okay. Have a good weekend, everybody. Oops.
Yep. All righty. So just wait. Yeah. Good song.
Oh my God.
You like those
Honey,
little short
I
ones.
swear to God, it's going to be a year from now, and I'm still going to have all of these difficulties.
Yeah. Everybody
I
does.
just figure it's better if I fuck it up in the very first moment
Yeah.
so that nobody stops here and they're like expecting some big produced, like flawless presentation.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather they just have realistic expectations. But we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Mhm.
Are you ready?
Get me some corn cob and sunflower seeds. I don't like pistachios. Unless they're unsalted. But I do like sunflower seeds that have already been unshelled. But the main thing is corn with a seed. I'm down with corn. Real corn, that is. Take a piece off and spread it around. Maybe forget where you put it. And then the birds come. And I say, get the fuck away from my corn. That wasn't meant for you. I forget where it even came from.
Oh my God.
If it was over a minute ago.
You know, I don't know that we have tried out the squirrel with new metal yet. It's nice to know that even new metal,
Yeah,
the squirrel, the squirrels, I put the other one up too. So.
Don't eat my corn with a seed. It's yellow and it's for me. I may have forgotten all about it because a minute has passed. But that doesn't make it yours now. Corn. The can comes off the cob. Corn cob. Can't get much off of that. If someone, who the hell took all the corn off the cob? Oh wait, maybe it was me. I don't know. If it's over 30 seconds ago.
The best part is that you start doing this, and both of the pets go over to like. I mean, Izzy must be upstairs, but they're just like,
They think it's happening.
this is like a normal day in our house, you know.
I forget 80% of the pieces of corn that I pulled off of it, and then the birds come, and I'm like, thanks for bringing me these pieces of corn.
I will be filming some unboxings today, though, since I'm already on. I gotta get lighting better since it's makeup.
Yeah, you gotta find out like an actual white light.
We need a ring light that isn't this yet.
And you just need to set right here on the end.
It wasn't the band's fault, Michael and John. I hope John doesn't live in Jersey anymore. I bet there's people out here that would love to meet him, though. John, you're a piece of shit. I'm glad you didn't get to do your other one.
Thanks. Bye.
Love and appreciation and sending prayers out to all the women that survived Woodstock 99.
Amen.